attention. You've got this done.
Morning everyone. Detective Superintendent Dane Doherty, Commander Homicide Squad, State Crime Command. I'm also here with Stephanie and Dane, the children of Raymond Keam. I'll introduce them in a minute. The New South Wales Government, together with New South Wales Police Forces, announced a $1 million reward regarding information into the murder of Raymond Keam more than 34 years ago. The body of Raymond Keam, then aged 43, was located by a member of the public on the north side of Allison Park at Randwick about 6:15 in the morning on Tuesday the 13th of January 1987. A post-mortem examination revealed that Mr Keam had died as a result of severe head injuries. Despite extensive investigations at the time by local police and also the Homicide Squad, at the time no one has ever been charged with Mr Keam's murder. In 1988, a coronial inquest found that Mr Keam had died as being struck by a person or persons who are still unknown. In 2019, a formal review was conducted by the Homicide Squad and the matter has been re-investigated by the Unsolved Homicide team and the detectives have worked on this matter since then under Strike Force Parrabell. As inquiries continue, we've been interviewing and re-interviewing people that who were witnesses at the time in 1987. A number of other people have come forward and will continue to look at all physical forensic evidence and other witness statements. The appeal is important today because we were hoping that since 1987 there was some people may come forward who may have information, who may have either lived in the area around Allison Park at Randwick, or who may have been victims of either an assault or robbery in Allison Park at Randwick, which was at the time a known gay beat at the time. And that's one of the lines of inquiry we're looking at. So I encourage anyone who may have information to come forward. I'll ask some questions, answer some questions after Dane and Stephanie have spoken, but I'd like to have them come up first, and Stephanie and Dane, children of Raymond.
Okay, this is going to be a little bit hard, so please bear with me. For the last 35 years, my family and I have lived with the constant cloud looming over our heads of not knowing who attacked our father, Raymond Keam, in 1987. Writing these statements have been extremely hard to do, as for so many years our family has bottled up these feelings because at the time it seemed no one cared. As I was only 3 when Dad was murdered, I didn't get to know him. Instead, I had to get to know him from the memories of my family members, some of which who were so scared by what happened shut down at the mention of Dad's name. I grew up without a father figure and have missed out on sharing some really great life experiences with him, while the persons responsible are out there living free, unaffected lives. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about him, but that also means that there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about the cowards that brutally attacked and murdered him. I was lucky that I had the strong support network around me while growing up. As a teen, I would go to very dark places and sometimes do stupid things as a way of dealing with what happened to my father. This was only exacerbated by reading media reports about how his murder was linked to the Sydney gay bashings that swept through Sydney in the 1980s and 1990s. As a gay man myself, this was heartbreaking, but also for my family to read in books and see in TV shows that my dad was only murdered because he was gay. No thought had been given to the families and the memories of those families that were being tarnished by the media, as they may have had no idea that the family members were hiding the fact that they were gay or bisexual. My grandparents passed away not knowing what happened to their only son, so I hope this appeal brings my father justice, and I hope my family can finally have some closure of this horrible chapter of our lives, even though it'll never bring him back. Thank you. Good, thanks.
Well, any questions?
Yeah, questions. Sorry.
Thank you, Sal. Dane, you said that you're living through the memories of your family members. What have they told you about your dad, what kind of man he was?
My dad was a funny man. He was a caring man. He was a loving man. He was the kind of person that would be there to help anybody. And that's all I can really say. I said, like, speaking to my family about my dad was a hard topic to have with my family, so it's very limited. Steph could probably say more about what kind of man he was, but he was a good man, a great man.
Okay, I don't really think I can say it as well as Dane. I was 15 when it happened, and he was an intelligent, witty man. He was funny, made people laugh, very strong of character, and a lot has been lost, since that happened. Today's the first time in a long time that Dane and I have been in contact because of this, because it's been so hard. And I just, urge anybody that knows anything to come forward and just put this to rest, just so we can move on. Thank you. That's all.
Can I ask, you said, as a gay man,
Mm-hmm.
if this is related to some kind of gay hate crime, that must make you very sad, particularly.
It does make me sad, but what makes me sadder is that it's a focus point. Well, that's a reason to kill somebody. Is to me that I find that absolutely disgusting. So yeah, to read that, I didn't find that out till I was much older, from reading books and media, and obviously, as I said in my statement, watching TV shows. And as a gay man myself, it was hard to read. And it not just what happened to my father, but happened to all the other men in that area at that time. Like, it's not just my dad, there's a lot of people that are affected by this mentality that was going around at the time in homophobia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, it has, through interviewing the witnesses and so forth, has new lines of inquiry or new evidence come out?
Yeah, as a result of the review and the reinvestigation since 2019, there has been new lines of inquiry, which and that's why today is really important, and that's why we're thankful for the government to give them a $1 million reward. You can see, because it does give us some hope that somewhere out there may have that information. It's not always about the money, it's about doing the right thing. You can see how this has had a major impact on Mr. Keam's family and his friends. The grief doesn't diminish after 34 years. And I think the fact that we have now a focus, our investigation is a little bit stronger in relation to since 2019, and that's why today's appeal is important, that there's other people out there who would have information, whether they be victims of assaults in Allison Park at Randwick. We really strongly encourage anyone who hasn't reported or given information before to come forward. But it might be other people that might actually know the identity of those people who've committed this atrocious and violent act of violence and incredible, it's an egregious conduct by these people. They should need to be held accounted to. And I think it's a point where someone would hold a secret and have the information of who may have actually committed this violent murder. And that's why today's appeal is important. There's other people who lived in the area and may have seen something at the time, never actually gave that information, didn't think it was important, but any bit of information is important. And I think today is an important day moving forward. Hopefully we get that information. We want to be able to provide answers to Raymond's family, and we also want to bring the people who did this to justice.
Are there any current suspects? And when you say there are new lines of inquiry, are they new suspects? We've been re-interviewing a lot of people in the last couple of years, and it gives us a stronger focus about maybe a possible motive and possible the type of person that may have committed such a callous and violent act. We're still appealing for information from the public to help us. We still need to know
I think there are people that know the identity of the people that committed this murder. They need to look into their own conscience and come forward. Again, it's not about the money, it's about doing the right thing. And again, after 34 years without answers, I think it's time to be able to provide those answers.
Given Mr. Keam's background, I think it was martial arts, you would be of the firm view that more than one person's involved?
Yeah, look, it's a fairly strong line of inquiry that would be, or a theory that be more than one person involved. The fact that Mr. Keam had martial arts, I think it was a black belt in karate, you would think it'd be more than one person would be able to attack him and assault him to the point where they've murdered him. So that is a strong line of inquiry. And so saying that, because we believe there may be more than one person, it means other people may have heard, saw something, or have been given or told something at some time. And those are the ones we're also appealing to. And
when you say other victims, do you believe that this group or singular person it's gay related? Look,
again, it is a strong line of inquiry. I know we can't be totally focused on that motive, but that appears to be a strong motive, that it is a bias-related crime. It was a known gay beat. There had been known assaults in that area, and robberies in the area in the past. So that's obviously a strong line of inquiry. Those people that may have been victims of this, and may have been victims of the group of people or the person who was responsible for Raymond's death, may have never given information for a number of reasons, back in 1987 or since. And so that's really important that those people feel comfortable now to be able to come forward, knowing that that we've got hopeful that we can get some answers for Raymond's family, but also that information may actually provide an identity for us or other persons who are associated with that group who may have committed this murder. That would be really valuable, and I think it'd be integral that people come forward and feel that they can feel comfortable enough now to come forward.
Yeah, so a very different time.
Yeah, 34 years ago, different time. I suppose it's, not even, in the last years beforehand and years after, it's a point where our focus has always been, in recent time anyway, that, every life is valuable, and we investigate it so thoroughly now, and it's important that we look at the motive. However, we also look at the person, and Dane and Stephanie just summed it up perfectly. And Raymond was a loving father, and he had his own personality. We're not just pigeonholing this into a certain motive and putting it in. There's no judgment from us at all. I think it's important that we keep whilst we're looking at motives, we also remember this was a loving father who has lost his life in a violent act of, and by someone who needs to be held accountable to. And I think it's important that I think there really is a strong possibility that there's people out there who have never come forward, and that would be of great assistance not only to us, provide justice to the family, but just give that a little bit of information that might provide some answers.
Do you think the type of crime that it may be held back the New South Wales Police Force at that time, given the nature of the culture in Sydney at that time?
Look, you can't shy away from that. It may have been a reason for it. It could be a number of reasons. People may not want to disclose their own sexual orientation as well, but the fact that if that's the motive, and someone had the perception, in this case, that of Raymond's sexual orientation, and he was assaulted and murdered for that, that's just, as I said before, it's just egregious behaviour. It's outrageous in today's society. It's against all the social norms. And I think everyone would, collectively would agree that these people need to be brought to justice. And it's 2021, it's not 1987. and now they should feel comfortable coming forward and giving us that information.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.